I'm Vara,
This is Roxy.
and you're listening to VCR. Hey, Roxy, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm good.
You all right? You're good? I'm all
Yeah.
right and good too. You had a funner evening than I did. You got to go do some candle makings and all this other
Hmm.
fun, sensational stuff for your friend's birthday, and want to wish her a happy birthday from the VCR show. Uh, although by the time she gets this, it'll be past that. So happy belated birthday. Uh, so last night, Roxy was doing our fun thing, and I kept my ass at home and watched some movies. And then I watched the movie that we're supposed to review for today, which is Roxy intro it because you did
Oh, sorry. It's Blink twice.
Blink Twice. Blink Twice is a 2024 film, but I gotta admit, so this is my first time seeing it. It was actually a really good movie. I have a couple of critiques about it, but it was ultimately a good movie. I will say this, Roxy, tell me if you feel the same way. Was that start of the movie kind of a slow burn?
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. So for the first, I think when I had paused it because I was like, "Fuck, why hasn't anyone died yet?" I was like, I had paused it, and it was 37 minutes in. I was like, "Okay, so this could be about maybe 40 minutes before we see something start to happen." And then after that, maybe within those 40 minutes, then it starts to crank up and get
Like a
into.
long introduction.
Yes, it was a very long setup on that movie. But I want to say this before I go on. That was a very star-studded cast in this movie. So Blink Twice stars every woman's favorite guy. What's his name again, Roxy?
Ooh, oh, Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum, Mr. Tate Yum there. Uh
Mr. Magic Mike himself.
yeah, so that guy, he's in it. And I will say this. He was really good in this movie, considering
Right.
that this is something different. Like normally you see him in like comedies or like uh watch me take my shirt off type of movies type thing. And but this one was like very dramatic, uh very much, I don't want to call it a horror movie, but I guess it could be a horror mystery type of situation. Uh and he was great in it. He really was great in it as this douchebag, stuck on himself, rich guy with all the white
Like a tech
privilege.
millionaire or some shit.
Yeah, so he, he played a really good douche and a really good jerk in this. That's really what I can say. Zoe Kravitz is in it, who is the daughter of Lenny Kravitz. However, Zoe Kravitz not only is in it,
She actually wrote it.
she wrote it and directed it. I was like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
wow, super talented there. Um, you also have Gina Davis was in it, and I was like, oh my God, Gina Davis, like good for you. The legendary Christian Slater was in it, and he always plays a good douchebag. He's always going to be a great douchebag. Haley Joel Osment was in it. Um, so for those of you who don't know Haley Joe, who he is, he's done a lot of indie movies. Roxy, do you know which one he was? Because he's one of these
No.
guys. Okay, he was the chubby one with the long hair and the
Oh,
beard.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
So you want to know what his big claim to fame was?
Wasn't he I See Dead People?
Yes, he was the little boy in Sixth Sense. I see dead
Yeah.
people, and he's
I
gone on to.
recognize that face. I was
Yeah,
like,
his face has not changed. He still looks like that kid. He is in this, and it's good to see him in it. Because like he does a lot of indie stuff, so it's kind of nice to see him in kind of more mainstream type of stuff. And then one of my favorite actors in the world is in it, and but he had a very small role. But Kyle McLannan, well, I'm probably butchering his last name. He is the guy who plays Dale Cooper in Twin Peaks. And he was also in Sex and the City, and he's done quite a few other things. I want to say he is Mr. Big in Sex and the City. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because
I
I
don't
don't
recall
do.
seeing Mr. Big in this movie.
Yeah. Well, no, but like in the Sex and the City series. You know what? No, he may have been like the fiance to somebody in that. Anyway, you'd have to look him up for who he played in that. I'm not a Sex and the City kind of guy.
No,
Um
yeah, I was saying Mr. Big. I know who Mr. Big is, and I didn't see him in this movie. So
Okay, then that probably isn't him then. But you had a lot of like star-studded actors in here, and also you had a lot of what I would call mid-level actors. Like, oh, I've seen them, but here, there they are, that kind of situation. But they had a
I
really
like to
good
call it that
cast,
fucking guy.
huh?
I like to call it that fucking guy.
That
I
fucking
see
guy
somebody
right
I
there.
recognize, but I don't know what they're from. I'm like, oh, that fucking guy.
Yeah, like so like the lady who plays her best friend, who plays Jess, the one with the lighter,
Mm-hmm.
uh Aaliyah Schwartkaft. I can't pronounce her last. Forgive me if y'all ever hear the show. I've seen her do quite a few things. Like she's always like a good supporting actress, and I've seen her do quite a few things. So I was like, oh, I've seen her, but couldn't tell you what her name is, type of situation. But it was a really, really interesting cast that they had there, and a decently diverse cast if you think about it too.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump into a little plot here. Other than a super slow burn in the beginning, it is putting up the story about I'm trying to remember his Slater
Later
King.
King.
Yeah, a total douchebag name, by the way, Slater King. He's this tech billionaire, and he got in trouble for something. And me and Roxy were debating this earlier. Can't remember what he got in trouble for, but he got in trouble. He disgraced himself, had to leave his company for a little while, and then went off, did therapy on an island type of thing. He bought a private island and did therapy there. And I was like, okay, this therapy ends up becoming something really horrible later on. Um, this is the first movie. Let me go back and say this. This is the first movie in years upon years that I have ever seen a trigger warning
Oh
before the
yeah,
movie.
there is definitely a trigger warning. Like I wasn't sure if I wanted to watch it. I was a little scared.
Yeah, it says even though this is fictional, there are certain scenarios, situations in here that
Mhm.
could cause triggers and all this. I was like, damn, I had not seen that in a very long time. Like, I don't think I've seen that since I was a kid, type of shit. When they used to do that back in the 70s. So that was kind of a trip. But Mr. Slater King here, played by Mr. Tatum, basically goes off and does his therapy, and he comes back this changed man, right? And
Air quotes.
yeah, and he's at this soiree where he meets our beautiful heroine here, and she is just doing catering, and her best friend is with her, and
Her
uh,
name is Frida.
Frida, yes, and so Frida ends up catching the eye of Mr. Slate King there, and they're having this wonderful evening together and blah, 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 blah. And he's gonna jet off with his friends to his private island because now they've all collected some, and this is the thing that dawned on me like a little later. They're all there at this soiree, but they're collecting women.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're collecting women, and you find this out a little bit later. So, Mr. Tate Yum runs back and, hey, do y'all want to come with us? So they all jump a private jet and they jet off to his private island where he has all this stuff set up for them, and they're being taken care of, and they're just I
Lavishly
yes,
being taken
lavishly,
care
all
of.
these expensive foods, all
Woo!
this stuff. But here's
Gorgeous outfits, spa treatments,
mm-hmm,
endless champagne,
yep.
resort style living.
Exactly, perfume. The perfumes and
They were
actually
all gifted perfumes.
the perfume is actually very important in this, and I'll
Hmm.
tell you why in a minute. So what ends up happening is that um for the longest time, and this for at least the first 40 minutes of the movie, and for them like it seems like days and days, all they're doing is they're high as fuck. They're just
Yeah.
happy and high as fuck to the point where they don't remember what day it is or really how long they've been there. And they're, again, having these magnificent dinners, but then our heroine, Frida, starts noticing things like she has dirt under her nails, and one of her nails kind of breaks off, and then little weird things like that. And then all of a sudden, her friend, Jesse, goes missing. Just like, and all the others are like, "Who's Jesse?" And like, my best friend who I came here with. And then one of the girls who's plays the bitch of the group
Hmm.
is like brings her the lighter with the name Jesse on it, and they start talking and trying to figure things out because like Jesse has these not Jesse, the bitch friend has these bruises on her, and then of course Frida has things that are happening to her body that she can't explain either. So what's happening is they're starting to sober up, and they're kind of discovering that something is happening to make them forget things. And that's where we start coming into the meat of the story is that they're sobering up and starting.
Sarah. Her name is Sarah.
Sarah, what's the actress's name? She was
Adria Arjona? Arjon? I don't know.
That sounds right. So anyway, Sarah, who they're working together to figure this out and to keep each other sober. The weird thing is they're always killing snakes on this island because they're like, oh, they're a nuisance and they're venomous, so we have to kill them all the time. Ends up that's not why they're killing them. Um, the snakes are kind of the antidote to what's happening. So ultimately, the guys are keeping them drugged with this memory loss agent. But here's the weird thing. At some point, they become conscious again.
So let
And
me stop
through,
right there. Do
go ahead.
you know the flower that they kept pulling and putting in their hair? That is what was helping with the memory loss.
Yes, so the two keys are the flowers and the snakes. So they
Hmm.
were harvesting the flowers to create the memory loss
The
agent.
perfume.
Yes, and that's how they would get doubt. They would spray the perfume on themselves every day, and it would absorb through the skin. And at some point, they would just remain in this state of forgetfulness. But apparently, at night, that would wear off. And here's where the triggers come in. So, at night, the guys would like literally hunt them down while they could remember and then totally, assault them, sexually assault them, do
Abuse them.
abuse them, did horrible things to them.
Horrible.
Um, and the thing is, then they would get the memory agent again, and they would
Hmm.
never remember what happened. And that was part of the object, is like they were perfecting this memory agent
Hmm.
that would erase their memory. And so
And
it
the
was.
fucked up thing is when he said, the worse the trauma, the more she'll forget.
Yeah.
Like,
And 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 they kept saying forgetting is a gift. Forgetting
yeah.
is a gift. And I was like, no shit. Like the things that they were doing to them,
Oh,
that's the thing. That's why they give you the trigger warning, because they show you what they're doing to them. And it's really fucked up
it
because they're on this
is.
island. They don't have cell phones. They don't have a way to communicate or even really get off the island. And all it is like this massive sexual assault party. And I was like,
Hmm.
clearly this was inspired by the whole Epstein thing.
They were actually saying that this was inspired by the Diddy parties.
I would have gone with Epstein, but yeah, I
It could
guess.
probably be both.
Like, hey, Diddy and Epstein, if they came together and
Right.
this is how fucked up it would be. And I would totally believe that. I mean, it's totally fucked up. Um, but then they would get the perfume or they would put it in their foods and they would again erase. But then
Mhm.
uh they have these servants there who don't speak English. and the victims, of course, don't speak Spanish.
Mhm.
And the one lady kept calling her Red Rabbit, and you keep wondering why is she calling her Red Rabbit? And it's because she would paint these animals on her nails, and one of them was a red rabbit. That's how she identified
There
them.
were animals.
Animals, that's right. And then what happens is the lady who you think is creepy and crazy gives her this thing to drink, and it's terrible, but it's the snake venom, and the snake venom is the antidote to the memory loss agent. And so she starts remembering, and then she realizes this is a problem, so she starts giving it to Sarah, and then they figure out a way to give it to the other girls, which
Which
is
I thought was clever. They're like, show
clever
me.
as fuck. Yes, they're doing
'Cause
tequila
I would have gone with them
shots.
for that.
I
I
was
would be like,
like,
yeah.
tequila shots with antidote. So by the time dinner runs around, boom, their memories are coming back and they are angry as fuck. So they
Hmm.
start killing the guys. And like one of them get Haley Joel Osment's character gets taken out with an ice pick. The Christian Slater, he doesn't immediately get taken out, but oh my God, he got his ass like beat down with a
Yeah, he
marble
did.
like chessboard. His face is all disfigured and he can't walk. It was hysterical. Now the guy, the security guard who's supposed to be a Marine, uh he was on it for a minute and you thought that he was actually gonna
Oh, I thought he
win.
had her.
But then Sarah comes up with him with his massive rock and starts just bashing his head in from behind. It was great. So then you just have Mr. Tate Yum, the Christian Slater who can't do anything, and then one other guy who gets picked off real easy. Uh, but here's the thing. Christian Slater is running around with a Polaroid just taking pictures of everything that's happening. So he's documenting
Hmm.
it. And they're saving him. And this is where my issue kind of came in. This is where me and Roxy kind of split off in our versions of like how the movie ends because there's really not much more to tell you other than it's well acted and there is a just a sexual assault festival happening on this island is really what this is and they sober up and now they're revenge and killing each other. And what ends up happening is that Frida figures out a clever way to get King kind of sobered up, but in shock, so he doesn't kill anyone else. And then he knocks over these candles because he's all like, "What's happening?" And the whole fucking island blows up. I mean, goes up in flames. But here's the fucked up thing. The evidence goes up in flames as well. He passes up. Frida saves him. And I kept thinking the reason that Frida is saving him is so that she can bring him to justice later. But you clearly see the evidence has burned up. All the Polaroids and everything are gone. So it's like, what the fuck is going to happen here? And that's when we depart from the island and they're at this soiree again. And now it's, you see Slater King and his wife now because she's Mrs. King and now she's the CEO of his company. And she's apparently keeping him drugged because he's having issues. Like he's trying to cut a steak and he doesn't know how to cut his steak. So she may be drugging him up a little too much there because he shouldn't have those motor skill issues. So she's keeping him stupid type of thing. And she's taken over everything. And this is where Roxy, you jump in there and you kind of say, this is a form of justice, right?
Yeah, I think it is the form of justice
Right. And,
because, like I said, he earlier in the movie he showed that he had done something horrible
yes.
and basically got away with it because he went to therapy. So he basically got a slap on the wrist. So that just shows that he can get away with anything because he has a lot of money.
Right.
So why turn him in with no evidence
Mhm.
when he's clearly going to get away with it? There's no justice there. So jump in, take over.
Mhm.
Now I run this shit and I'm going to handle it from the inside. There's
Right.
the justice.
And I get that. And I get that form of justice that you're saying. But here's the issue that I took with the ending is that there were how many girls were there altogether? There were like five girls that they took to the island.
I think so,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, so it was about five girls that they took to the island. Only two lived. That is going to be Sarah and Frida. They lived. We don't know what happens to Frida, I mean to Sarah, because all we're following Frida. And so Frida lives, she takes over, blah blah blah. But the thing that kept bothering me is that the other three girls are dead. And they have to have family members that are probably searching for them, who will never know that they're dead on an island. And it's like that, and to me, that's like, where's their justice? So I kind of have a split view of it where I see the justice that Roxy's talking about, but I also see the injustice that's happening to those three girls, those three victims, whose families are probably like, where's
But
my
if he can get away with anything, who's to say that their whereabouts would even be put out there, that they would even be brought up? If he can clearly hide anything,
Right, no, but what I'm saying is the torment and and the suffering
what
that,
I'm saying is that they would probably still have to suffer it because he wouldn't be able to get it out. Like he wouldn't allow it to get out.
right, but at least how do I put this? Well, because we're talking about alternate endings that have never been
Right.
created, right?
Right.
So, but that's just where my mind is going. Is like, there are three families out there suffering who have, and the thing is, they don't know that he has any involvement. They're just suffering because their daughter or friend is missing. And they're tormented by that. We haven't even figured out what's happened, but the one truth is they're missing. And so you have people out there who are suffering because of that. So there's no justice for that, and there's no justice for that. It's silent because
Mhm.
nothing's been attempted. She did something different, which is fine. That's the way the movie ends. It's just didn't sit as well with me. I know it sits better with you. It didn't sit as well with me.
It's
So
great
we're
with me.
we're 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 split on the ending, but ultimately, if we're gonna give grades, what grade are you giving this movie?
I'd give it an A.
You give it an A? Okay. I'm gonna give it, in all honesty, I'm gonna give it a B. Not even a B plus, but a B, a solid B because that intro was way too fucking long. Not that I'm trying to be mean with it, but seriously, I mean, they could have set up that story a little bit shorter, like that intro a little shorter. There's some things that could have been like cut out of it because, like, after a little while, like I said, I paused it just to see like when the hell is anything going to happen, and we're already like 37 to 40 minutes in. I was like, so that was a little too slow for me. And altogether, it's an hour and 46 minutes. So 40 of the minutes, you're just waiting for something to happen. Um, and then gradually things start to happen. And not to say it's not a bad movie. It is a good movie. But I feel the intro was too long, and then the other thing that kind of bothered me was the ending. And then, but the rest of it was fine. Once it picks up, it's a good movie. It really is.
I give it
But
an A because I don't mind the long intro. It gives a really good backstory and it gives you a little bit more like, I guess, confusion on like why was she obsessed with this guy? But I guess because of the memory agent, she didn't remember that she was there
right.
before.
And just to let you know, those memory agents, it's not like that's a new perfection. That does exist. That's what they give you during surgery. Because, you do, a lot of people don't believe this. You do wake up during surgery on occasion. You just don't remember that you wake up during surgery. And, it does happen, so, but that shit does happen. So the memory agents do exist for that type of thing. But I love the way that they worked it into the plot. It was just brilliant. So for Miss Zoe Kravitz, bravo, good job, love it. Like I said, just for me, it was just the beginning and the end that kind of had some mixed opinions on my end. But other than that, it was a good movie. I would say definitely see it if you are someone who suffers from triggers.
Be
Um,
careful because
yeah,
I will say I'm glad that they didn't show. much more than what was shown.
Yeah, because that
Like it
could have
was a
been
quick
really
flash, and
devastating.
I was like, "Oh, thank God," because I would not have been able to handle a whole scene of that.
Yeah, because it
'Cause
was
even that flash had me like, ugh.
yeah, and they
Mm-mm.
give you a few of them that way you know what they're going through and everything. I was like,
Mm-mm.
but it
I
was
got like
pretty
that lump, even
brutal.
just thinking about it right now.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. So if you if you're someone who suffers from that, I would not definitely I would skip this, maybe not, but it was very good nonetheless. I am impressed with Mr. Tatum's more serious acting skills in this one. But let's say you have a alternate movie that's just as good or creepy or weird that you'd like to share with us. Let us know here on the VCR show at the VCR show at gmail.com, and our social media is the VCR show, YouTube and the website, the VCR show. And if you want to like discuss your favorite movie critiques with the fabulous Miss Roxy, you can do so at her social medias, which are.
On Facebook at Roxy Perez Kirby Model, on Instagram at PopRocks428, and on TikTok at the Pop Rocks. And Pop Rocks is spelled POPROXX.
And as always, I'm Vara,
And I'm Roxy.
and you've been listening to VCR.
Bye.
Bye bye. You have been listening to VCR, creative content by Richard Christopher Vara and Roxy Perez. Logo by Richard Christopher Vara with assistance from Annie Ramirez. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach us at thevcrshow@gmail.com or our social medias at Instagram and Twitter at the VCR Show. And you can also check out our content at thevcrshow.com. The show's song is Addict by Nefex, instrumental, and you can find them on YouTube Music Library.